Alright guys, welcome back. So in the last video we started talking about Flexbox, right? And you already saw the amazing things that you can do with Flexbox. Basically, you can determine the layout of your um, website. Now, I want to talk about the practical application of Flexbox, and this should also help to put things into perspective, kind of put together everything we've talked about so far. So what we want to do is to build a very simple navigation bar, and by so doing we are able to put together everything we've learned so far. So if you want to build a navigation bar, of course we're going to follow best practice, and by best practice I mean we're going to use semantic HTML. Now if you're not really very familiar with HTML, I also have a playlist in this channel where you can learn everything you need to know about HTML to get started. Okay, so just check for HTML for beginners or something like that, and you'll be able to catch up and brush up on your HTML. So let's get started. So to do a navigation bar, similar to the one you see in most of your favorite websites. So first of all, the way you would do it is generally a website has a certain structure, and that's the semantic structure. First, it has the headers, right? So it has the headers or the header, right? And then it has um, the main body. So it has main. So the main will have a couple of sections, and then it has maybe the footer. Okay, so this is the semantic structure. Okay, so but usually websites, when we talk about the navigation bar, we usually have it inside the header. Okay, so inside the header we're going to have an element called nav. Always use nav. Now nav is going to have the way navigation bars work is on the left side of the navigation bar you usually have the logo or some brand identity. Then on the right you have a list of menus. So I mean there are different ways to lay out a navigation bar, but we want to follow the conventional layout where on the left side you have the logo, and then on the right side you have the navigation items to select from. Okay, so because we want to follow that approach inside the nav, actually the nav should be what we have on the left hand, on the right hand side. Then the first thing here should be we should put a div here. um, the div will have the logo. So the logo is usually an image, but we just want to keep things simple. So rather than putting an image, we'll just put a text here that says logo. Just leave it like this. Then we'll come down here and put the navigation items. Usually the navigation items are usually a list, right? So things like home, about, contact, services, products, things like that. So it's a list. So we're going to use a UL because it's unordered list. The order of those items don't really matter, so we use unordered list. Okay, of course when you have an unordered list, you have list items inside it. So and our list items are going to take let's have 4 list items. So and if you want to create list items, we're going to give it a class of list items. So start with a period, put the name of the class you want to give it, lists item, and then you want it in 4 places, so you multiply by 4 and then you hit tab. Okay, this is a shortcut to so you don't have to type one. Actually it shouldn't be a div, it should be an li instead. So I'm just going to select all of them and change it to li. And if you're wondering how I did that, just select the first one and do Command D on your Mac or Control D on Windows, and just just keep doing Command D until you select all the things you want to replace. So your cursor is in front of all of them. You can just type whatever you type, it's going to replace it. But okay, just to show you guys. Okay, so the first one is going to be about, and then the next one is going to be contact us. The next one is going to be actually, let this be home. Let's call this about, and then let's call this services. Okay, cool. So that's our header. Just to keep things simple, we're gonna get rid of these guys. We're not gonna do anything else. Just the header is what we are focusing on for now. So okay, so this is what you have. It doesn't look like a header yet, but that's where CSS comes in. So we're gonna make it look like a header. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is to yeah, this is a header already, so we're going to give this guy an ID of logo. Okay, remember you're supposed to have your image here. Next you have the UL, and UL is UL, so we're going to give this an ID of nav nav list, let's call it that. And okay, we start styling. So what we want to do is, first of all, we want our header to have a background. Okay, so we can get rid of all this style here, we don't need them anymore. So we can use the tag selector to select the header, because we are sure we're not going to have multiple headers, or maybe we can, but let's just, you know what, you never can tell. So let's just give it an ID of main header. Actually, let's leave it as header. Okay, so that's the only header we have for now. So we give it a background color. So BGC for background color. What background color do you want to give it? Let's give it some sort of gray or very dark color. Okay, so we have this. Now if you notice, you see there is this default margin around it, but we don't want that margin. So what we can do to remove it, we can do a margin to the body. We give the body can say margin 0. So to remove that default margin, and then we can say padding 0. Okay, hopefully, yeah, the margin is gone. Okay, now what else do we want to do? We want to give the header okay, so now what we want to do, remember the header we say we want to do, we want the logo to be on this side, and then we want the items to be on the right hand side, right? Okay, so what we are going to do basically is to convert this guy into a Flexbox. So you convert it into a Flexbox. That's the header. Remember, you have two children elements of the header. Basically this div with an ID of logo, and then this UL that has the nav that has the list. Okay, so if we do that, so we're gonna say display flex. Okay, so we can now control the position of those this logo and these guys. Okay, so we're gonna do justify content, and because we want them to stay on either sides of the flex box, which is this guy now, so we're gonna say space between. Actually, space between. Okay, you see, so this one is here and this one is on this side. Okay, something we want to do is to first off, we want to change the color. Want everything here to be want to change the color of this guys here first of all, and I also want to change the color of the logo. Okay, so let's say, let's first of all change the color of the logo. So it has an ID of logo, so we'll just say logo, and then we'll say color. um, the color should be white. Okay, and then we want to increase the font size, so FC, we want it to be 28 pixels. It's a logo, so it should be visible enough. Okay, actually let's make it even bigger. Let's do 38. Okay, cool. Now we don't want the logo, hitting at the top. We want everything centered. Okay, and justify content. Do you remember what we talked about? When you're in a flex box, justify content handles the horizontal alignment of the content of the flex box. But if you want to handle the vertical alignment, you use align items. Okay, so if we do align items, and then we're going to say center. Okay, you see everything is kind of centered right now. Okay, so now let's talk about a margin. So we want it to, it's hitting the edge of our screen. We don't want that, so we want to have some margin. So what we are going to do is to give this header a margin left and right. So so when you are doing a website, overall you want your website to have the same space, right, the same margin from the edge of the screen to the first content on the website. You want it to have the same vertical alignment. So to achieve that, we can create a class, right? We can create a special class and call it container. I hope you know it's possible to give a particular element multiple classes. So let's give this guy a class of container. Okay, so it has a class of container, and then we're going to style this container. Basically what we want to use this container to do is to style the margin. So all the rest of the elements that we'll put on this website will have the same class of container, and the work of that container class is to define the margin between the border, the edge of the screen, and the first content of the website. Hopefully that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to have this guy styled. So container, and all container is going to do is going to have margin left of let's say 70 pixels, and then maybe let's say margin, actually, just a moment guys. Okay, so we're starting our container. We're going to give it margin. So we have a margin left, so we're going to give it a margin right with the same 70 pixels. Okay, and now, oh, actually it's padding, right? It should be padding. So say padding. Padding left and padding right. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is what we are talking about. Looks a lot better. So now let's talk about excuse me, let's talk about these guys on the right. Okay, so on the right, what do we have here? We have a nav. Okay, so what we're gonna do is first of all, we want to give the um, we want these items first of all to have a white color, and then we also want the sizes to increase, and then we want them to be arranged horizontally. Okay, so let's do that. um so let's say nav. So first, color is going to be, actually color is going to be white also. Okay, and then we want things arranged horizontally. Now if you want things arranged horizontally, we want to manipulate the layout of this. These are the children that we want to manipulate, and the direct parent is UL, not nav. So if we convert nav into a flex box, it's not going to do anything for us. What we need to convert to a flex box is this guy here, this UL, with a nav, with an ID of nav list. So that's what we are going to do. So we're going to say nav lists, and then so what we're going to do is we say display and then flex, and you see they are arranged now. We want to remove this dots. All right, it comes by default for every UL. So we're going to say list style, and then we say none. Okay, so they are gone. And then so we're going to give each of the items a margin so that we can have, have some space. They're just overlapping each other. So what we can do is we say the LIs inside the list item. So we say LI. Remember, list item is the UL, right? The parent, and then LI are children. So that's what this selector means. Okay, so what we want to do is to give them a margin. So as far as margin goes, we want to give them a margin top and bottom of auto, left and right of, let's say, 10 pixels. Okay, cool. So you see, we have so it's looking a lot better now, but we still want some padding. So we still want some padding on our navigation. You can see the logo is almost hitting the edge of the nav bar. So what we can do is to give our navigation to give it a padding. So padding top and bottom, we want to give it padding top and bottom of 20 pixels, and then left and right just auto. Okay, what's that? Header padding, it didn't apply the padding. Why? Okay, let me the 40 pixels, it didn't apply it. Okay, I need to take out the auto. Okay, I don't want padding on the left and right, I just want it top and bottom. So I can just do you know what, let's try 0 pixels. Okay, this works. Now our list items are quite small, so let's make them bigger. So go our list items, we do font size. Let's give them font size of 25 pixels. Okay, they're a lot bigger now. Okay, let's increase the margin to let's increase the margin to 15 pixels. Okay, to have more spaces between them. Okay, cool. So this is pretty much how a navigation item, how a nav bar looks, and we achieved all of this using just Flexbox. Right, you can see how useful Flexbox can be, and maybe in a subsequent video I'll show you how you can use Flexbox to, center an element within to put an element within the center of the entire screen. Okay, So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the comment section. Now, something you would need to notice is usually navigation bar, when you hover on it, it's usually a link that you can click to, um, links that you can click to, go into different parts of your page. But we're going to talk about that in subsequent videos.